Diagnostic Practice in Maths. This series is especially designed for primary level 1 until primary level 6. It's written by Peter Lim, which is a senior certified educator, experienced in writing a lot of assessments for students. So the whole series is written by one single author. This series of books has been repeated from the first edition to the second and to the third. Especially the third editions, it is according to the latest syllabus of Ministry of Education curriculum in Singapore. It also can be used for Cambridge curriculum because part of the topics also covered in Cambridge curriculum. Every level is designed to have a pre-test in the beginning of the chapter, and at the end they have post-test. The design is so unique that it is suitable for tuition center, tutor teachers, and self-learners, which is the student themselves. Students who do the pre-test or teacher who run the pre-test, from the pre-test result, they find out the weakness of the students, and then they can enhance with a little bit of explanation for the students before they do the assessments. After doing the assessments, teachers or tutor can run a post-test to check the results. So the design is actually divided into two levels, which is lower primary and upper primary. Now we're going to focus on each level. Diagnostic Practice in Maths. The upper primary consists of primary 4, 5, and 6. It's the same author, Peter Lim, who writes P1 until P6. Now we look at P5 to represent the structure of P4, P5, and P6. Diagnostic Practice in Math, P5. The structure has pre-test to evaluate the students before they're doing any assessment, then the assessment itself, and then post-test. The differences between lower primary and upper primary is that in upper primary, they have more questions, the book is thicker as compared to the lower primary. Now we take a look at the content. Every chapter of this series have pre-test, the assessment itself, and post-test. This assessment book is actually designed especially for tutor teachers, tuition center, and for students. So before they're doing the assessment, the test itself will tell the weakness of every student who do the test. And the teacher can actually give a little bit of emphasis or explanations on the parts that they have mistakes on before they do the assessment. Then the student or the student will do the assessment. Then the teacher will check again after they're doing it to see whether it's improved or not. So if you look at chapter 1 until chapter 13, every chapter actually according to the Ministry of Education in Singapore, the syllabus of MOE in Singapore. So you can also check in the textbooks such as My Past textbooks or Shaping Maths textbooks. The chapter is actually similar chapter to chapter, so the student can easily follow the lessons and do assessments accordingly. So chapter 1 have whole numbers part 1 and part 2, and 3 have fractions, and then area of triangle, ratio, rate, angles, decimals, percentage, average, triangles, four-sided figures, and volume. At the end of all this assessment, they have work solution at the end. Now let's take a look at chapter 1. As I mentioned, that this book is actually designed for tuition teachers, and also students for self-learning. For the pre-test, they prepare score sheets that you can put in the scores prior to the assessment and after the assessment. So all the scores you can see in here can observe the improvement of every single student who do the test. And you can take a note here how much they improve. So the pre-test always have some questions which is some knowledge that they should have prior doing this, which is what they have in a level below. If we are talking about primary 5, that means in primary 4 they should have some basics, something like this, they should be able to do. After running all these tests, which consist of 12 simple questions, teachers or the student itself should roughly know their own weaknesses. Now, for example, Unit 1. The teacher or the student should know what's the objective of running Unit 1. So when they do the Unit 1, they should know, after doing this Unit 1, they should be able to read and write numbers in numerals and in words, round off numbers to the nearest 1000, work out sums which combines operations involving the 4 operations and the use of brackets. So understanding the objective, then when they do the assessment, they know what to hit. Then they can do all the questions carefully. Assessment after assessment, problems after problems, is getting harder, and this one is so-called fast calculation. They should be able to do also to differentiate between the additions and subtraction from multiplication and division. Which one to do first? This one will provide some brackets. Now they go for problem solving, mathematical modeling, which is slightly harder for them to do, and they are allowed to use calculator here. Now, after doing all the assessments, it's time for the teachers or the student themselves to check the result, whether they really master the topics. They have 12 simple questions, but which is actually harder than the pre-test to do, the checking. Right, after they do it, then they can put in the score at the beginning of the score sheets here. They can fill in, and then they can do some comment as the notes. The same thing for chapter 2. I have a pre-test also and a post-test. Now, after running every chapter, chapter 13 is the last chapter of P5, same as the textbooks. Now, if there is no teachers around, if there is no tuition teachers, the student want to do self-learning, this book is actually the best because it provides solutions. Every single chapter, every single questions, they have even the pre-test and the content. It's all in details. So the students actually can do self-studying without teachers. If they are keen enough to do self-correction, they can improve definitely. So this book is very good. So good that it has been published 4 times. The first published in 1999 when the curriculum is still the old curriculum and reprinted. Then comes second edition, third edition, then reprint 2 times, so printed 3 times. Fourth editions printed 3 times also, twice in 2014. Then fifth editions is printed twice. Now 2019 they also print 1 more time. So totally it has been reprinted so many times. So it is proven that this book is actually the bestseller in Singapore. It is especially good for teachers and tuition center who want to start open up classes or online classes or student for self-learning. You can purchase this book from Little Bookworm. The book is published by EPH, Educational Publishing House, but it's now in Indonesia. You can purchase locally via online or offline.